Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's time back for another episode of Train Talk from Milepost 141. This is our Soundbites podcast.
Yep.
And so, as always, my name is George Bogatuk.
And I'm Norman Carnaby.
Well, let me introduce you first.
No.
Jump all over the place here.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. So
I mean, I have to match your energy, don't I?
Yeah, but that's assuming I have as much energy. You have the energy of youth. I have the energy of just fun.
You have the energy of not caring anymore.
No, I care a lot. So, but anyway, we're here with another episode of Train Talk, and this time we're actually going to change it up a little bit. We don't have any models on the tables here to display and talk about, so. As far as our modeling is concerned, I know you've been tied up with some other stuff going on.
Yeah, I'm actually moving.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. You are moving. Any word on that? How that's going?
I'm touring a place in 2 hours.
Okay, 2 hours from right now when this is being
when we're
recorded.
recording. Yeah.
So hopefully you're able to find something.
Oh yeah.
And make sure you got room for a layout.
Of course. Because you think I wouldn't? I mean, that's the nice part about doing N scale. I don't need that much room for a layout.
That's true. You know, you small-minded folks, you got a lot more training in there, but you'd also miss a lot of the detail. So how do we want to word that? We could word that as, let's see, you're missing the forest for the trains, or we get to see the whole forest because you can model it in such a smaller space.
But I do lose out on some of that detail, which is why I do maintain a fleet of 00, so I can go over to your layout and run occasionally. Speaking of which, I hear you've been doing some work on your layout.
Yeah, I've been kind of working on a lot. Now, some of you guys may know me as Goalie George. I know Ken Patterson on his podcast, What's Neat, has been calling me Goalie George for a few years now, so I've kind of become nicknamed with that. Now, some of you guys may not know, one of my other hobbies is I also play hockey as a goaltender. So that's where the moniker Goalie George comes from. But on my YouTube channel, I've done some tours of the layout, some operational videos, things like that. So be sure to check that out, as well as our regular SoundTraxx YouTube channel. But more on that in a minute. So what we're going to do today is just to kind of give you guys a feel for what we've been doing. Over the last year, coming up on September of 23 is when I started the expansion. Now, it was late September 23. I added 14.5 foot of new bench work.
Because you moved into a bigger space, didn't you?
I did move into a new place in February of last year. Actually, I take that back. We got the contract in February, and then we closed in and moved in April of 23. Yeah. So I spent a whole lot of that time doing the typical honeydew stuff. Hey, can you put shelves up here for me? I want to display my collectibles. Okay, and of course, whatever the wife, you'll learn this at some point, whatever the wife wants, the wife gets. So I was doing those kind of things, and then we put a new kitchen sink in and did a whole lot of cleaning up and painting of the house and doing that kind of stuff. So once that was all done, it was September, and I was like, you know what? I've got the space in my garage, and I built the space to be expanded because I have a valance fascia shelving above the layout. Well, I built that around the 2 full walls of the garage, so I had plenty of storage space. That was one of the other things we did before we moved in. But with that, I was like, well, you know what? If I move this over here and move this around, next thing I know, I've got a whole lot more space.
Yeah.
So I added 14.5 foot a segment to now separate the yard from the industrial area because they were butted up right next to each other. And then we expanded that out by 14.5 foot to give me basically single track runs so that now you actually felt like you were going somewhere. And in that, I also was able to add a industry, industry in quotes. It's the interchange. So as many of you guys know, I model Missouri Pacific, and this is the MKT interchange. And so I modeled it with, you'll see it in the video here in just a second, but I modeled it with just a simple track crossing and then a siding that comes off the main line. And that way we can have a universal industry and we can put whatever we want there. And pick it up and take it to the team track, which is in my second expansion, which just started about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Or I guess 3 months ago now that I'm thinking about it. But that started off as a bet from some friends that came over to see the layout and said, oh, you should expand, build another industrial area over here. I'm like, yes, but where am I going to store it? Well, about a week later, I figured out where I was going to store it. So construction and planning started.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to go ahead and show you a quick little tour of my layout that you come over and occasionally run on.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen the new section yet.
That's either funny that you haven't been over or odd that that's how fast I've worked on it. I could see both.
A little bit of both. I'd say 50-50.
Okay. So we're going to take you on a quick tour of the layout here and enjoy, and we'll be back in just a second. Okay, guys, here's a quick tour of the layout. Just kind of wanted to show you some of the progress. Now, this is obviously the yard, and we've got a couple of trains in there. There's something in that video we'll talk about in the near future in a future podcast. But this staging yard that's stored up here fits in right here, and that goes out into the middle of the garage, so it stays out of the way so we can get the cars in the garage and so forth. So we've got a small little fiddle yard here, got the little engine facility, and there's actually lights inside of there, and all these lights are around the yard for nighttime operations. I'm in the process of working on adding those throughout the entire layout. More progress on that as it goes. I just changed out and added this new tank back here for the fuel. As we come along, the new section you may or may not have seen is this right here. Now, the old layout used to join right here to the industrial area, but now we've got this whole section right along here that is all expansion. This is all brand new since the wife and I bought a house a little over a year ago. Actually, it'll be at a year and a half now. And I started work on this late September in 23, so this has all been progress since then. So we've got small neighborhood over here. Still working on what to do exactly in this area, but at least there's something there. Old Depot, and we have our Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I built this with a full interior, and it of course lights up as well. So, and the Waffle House has an interior as well, and the interior on that lights up. Working on getting these gates operational, and they will tie in with the traffic lights behind it. We've got our grocery store. That's a temporary fabricated foam core building just to give me a footprint. And then up front here, we've got our wonderful Whataburger. And there was an interior in here already, but I did put some people in here and detailed the inside a little bit. It's hard to see right now because there's a reflection, but well, there you go. There's some people there. So there's some interior in there, and it does light up, and I did light underneath the awning as well. So we move forward over here, and this is our MKT interchange. So I've got this interchange track over here that can become a universal industry, and then just a little view of the diamond with a tower. And I'm working on getting the signals figured out what I want to do here. So we have some trees and so forth coming in, so it gives a little bit of a scene break as the train comes over. And then now, this is where the old section used to butt up over there. So all of this is all new. This building was moved over here, and an extension to this track across the road to give us a couple of extra spots. And then here we're working on Callahan Auto. Some of you guys may recognize that blue car right there. And the Coca-Cola bottling plant, and then again another temporary foam core building. One of these days I'll build the warehouse. And some of you may have seen this. I've used this video or this layout section in a lot of videos we've done on our YouTube channel, talking about operation and stuff like that. So I'm going to start getting serious about detailing the grain elevator and doing some more work over here. So that's going to be up and coming hopefully soon. Feed mill. And then this section comes out into the entryway here. This is the entryway to the garage. Unfortunately, it blocks my freezer where I store the sodas on top of it. So can't open the freezer when I have these removable sections out. But anyway, Come across here, just a little bit of a scene break. Then we have a highway overpass. And then this is my brand new section that I started about a month and a half ago. This is up front. This is a scrap metal warehouse, basically scrap metal recycling place. It'll load up gondolas and send out scrap metal. Got a runaround passing siding over there. And then that's just a building back of an industrial area. But then I have an oil facility back here and a team track up front. And then all this comes together. And then I have a switching lead that is basically a small little extension that goes out into the yard or into the middle of the garage. So it's about, let's see, the new section's 7.5 foot and this is 30 inches. So what's that come up to? Roughly about 10 feet. So the new section from here to the overpass is 10 feet. And it gives me some nice operation and just something new. So we watching for some update videos on that. Maybe some operational things as we go in. So looking forward to it. But guys, there's a quick overview of the layout. Let's get back to the podcast. So there you have it. That's just kind of a very quick overview of the layout. I've really been having a lot of fun. I've been building a lot of buildings and doing some stuff other than just decoder installations and detailing.
I can see you've been putting a lot of work in, and I'm impressed.
Yeah,
because I haven't seen that section yet.
Yeah, we'll have to bring you over here before long. We'll have to have an ops session.
Yeah.
So we'll see if we can coordinate that in the next couple of weeks.
All right.
But anyway, so with that, that's kind of the modeling portion right now. I know, with Norman moving and then of course with the layout, we can't always come over here with something new to show. Although I do have a couple of things in queue that'll be saved for future podcasts. So be sure you subscribe and get your notifications when we post a new podcast. And if you have any comments or questions or thoughts about it, just give us an email, support@soundtraxx.com. Just let us know what you're thinking. Give us some suggestions if you have some ideas for content, things like that. So with that, I'm going to roll into a little bit of, I had just gotten back a few weeks ago from the St. Louis RPM. And one of the biggest things that I've been kind of told or asked about when I was there demonstrating is about the Blunami. And of course, the Blunami is our new product that we've been really pushing hard. I really think everybody should try this out because it takes all the CVs out of it. But what I think a lot of people tend to forget about is that the Blunami is still a Tsunami 2 at heart. So it's still a DCC decoder. So you do not have to use the app on your throttle for operation or control or even the setup if you want. I mean, it's still a DCC decoder. So if you have a Tsunami 2, let's say in a GP38-2, and you put it on the track and you have that program out there called JMRI Decoder Pro, you can read all the CVs, store them in there. Now, if you install a Blunami into a GP38-2, you can put it on the track, write all CVs, and it'll copy it in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to be incredibly reductive about it, the Blunami is a Tsunami 2 with a Bluetooth chip.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's it at heart. So you get the benefit of all worlds. But what was interesting, and the reason I bring this up was I had a gentleman come up to me, and I was talking to him at the show. His website is galesigns.com. And he comes over to me. Now, you should check out his signs. He's got some really cool signage that you can put on your layout, and you can do custom signs like street signs, things like that. But anyway, he comes up to me and he says, wait a minute, you're telling me that the Blunami is a DCC decoder? Yes, sir. But I also have the app. Yes, sir. And the app allows me to set CVs without having to know CVs. Yes, sir. I can select my sounds in there. Yes, sir. You just simply go to a menu. Yes, sir. And you have this in a 21-pin format. And I said, yes, sir. And his literal next words were, why isn't everybody using this? I said, well, honestly, you're preaching the choir. So it'll be interesting to have his take. But he immediately then sent me paperwork to sign up as a new retailer. So he was that enthused with it. He had his nephew there with him, which, again, we hear about no young people in the hobby. Well, first off, we have a living example right here.
Hello.
And second of all, his nephew was probably 18, 17,
Okay.
something like that. And he was super enthusiastic. He showed me his scale trains Jivo that he had converted into a Tsunami 2, and he was waiting to upgrade it to a Blunami because he couldn't wait because of the fact that he could use his phone. So it really is something to take a look at. So if you guys haven't looked at it, I encourage you to check it out.
I want to touch on that what you just said there. Young people are definitely getting into the hobby. It's just they may not be in the same space as you are in.
Absolutely. I tell people this all the time.
A lot of them are prefer to online communities. I'm in a couple of Discord servers with a lot of younger model train guys, for instance.
Yeah. And I see them more at the RPMs, quite frankly, because the shows are smaller and they're more regional. And so, like a modeler like yourself, just starting out as an adult life. For example,
I may not have the resources to go to the national conventions.
Correct.
I mean, I do, but I'm going as SoundTraxx, not as Norman.
Correct. But if you had just picked up, let's say you just started dating this gal and you're married and you have a kid, you're certainly going to be taxed on resources. You don't have thousands of dollars to go to a trade show or to a national train show. But the RPMs that might be in your backyard, that's something you can usually go to. And that's why I think, people always say the hobby's dying. I disagree severely.
I don't see it.
I talk to people all the time. I see them at shows, and they come out of the woodwork. But I'm telling you, they also watch things like our podcast here, our YouTube channel, and that's how they learn. So instead of going to the stores to ask, the older gentlemen that are working at the stores or whatever, what their thoughts are, and how do I do this, they go online to a YouTube and watch 2 or 3 videos. Next thing you know, they're over there doing it.
Or they go to their little online Discord server with all the other model train guys and say, hey guys, any ideas how I do this? And 15 minutes later when somebody else gets on, it's like, oh hey, I know that.
Yeah, exactly. So I really don't see that. So guys, here's the reality is we want to keep promoting the model trains. So if you do find these youth in there, don't kind of give them that, well, wait a minute, you don't belong, that type of thing. So always welcome them in. You never know what you're going to find if you give the young kids a chance.
I mean, I got that even at a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Back when before I joined SoundTraxx, and back when I was still learning, there were a couple guys I tried to ask, and they basically said, I'm busy, don't talk to me.
Yeah. So we keep pushing it and trying to welcome new people into the hobby. And we're always seeing new people, whether it's just the youth or now with the Women in Model Railroading SIG group with the NMRA, we're seeing a lot of those coming out too.
Yeah.
Where women have always been afraid of model railroading. And so we always thought it was a guy's hobby. And they're more and more coming into the hobby and into the fray. So
ironically enough, my mom is getting into it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, if only she had a store nearby that she could go and shop at. So if any of you guys don't remember, Norman's dad is Neil from Neil's Engaging Trains up in Staunton, Illinois. So he's very focused in the N-scale market. So if you guys have any questions or need some N-scale stuff, be sure to give Neil a call as well.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, I think that would kind of cover some of the topic today. Maybe we save our tech tip for our next topic.
I guess, we've been talking for a minute here.
Because, I mean, really, the biggest thing is guys, first off, whatever your background, whatever your experience level, first off, don't hesitate to call. Because, like Norman said, he's been a youth in the hobby, he's seen it, so he's certainly not going to treat you that way. I remember when I started in the hobby at 14, I had a couple of those people that were that way, and they were very cautious of me running trains in the club because they assumed I was going to run it at
Mach 3.
Mach 3 or a Sella or a TGV speeds all the time. And I'm like, well, no, I'm doing this because I want to model a real railroad.
Yeah.
And finally they came around and but I did have a few of those guys that took me under their wing. And so from years of talking to them and learning from other model railroaders over the years, this really is a lifelong hobby. It's something I enjoy. And so while I'm here being paid, obviously, to promote SoundTraxx and push product to you, we want to do that, but we also want to promote help and assistance. And so if you have questions about our SoundTraxx products, how to use them, DCC, things like that you may want to ask, don't hesitate to call or email us. Norman and I, like I said, we've both gone through it. Neither one of us were born knowing how to model railroad.
No.
This is an experience. This is a talent or a skill that you acquire. Somebody had to learn how to build bench work. They had to learn how to lay track. They had to learn how to wire track. Then we had to learn how to take apart models and disassemble them. So we're here to help you every step of the way as SoundTraxx, but also in a way of paying back to the community as well. I know it sounds cheesy, but to be honest with you, it really is the way I feel.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I have to keep hammering this home. Don't be afraid to ask, because I'm trying to remember. There's a quote that goes something like, the person who asks looks dumb for a minute. The person who does not is dumb for life.
Never heard that, but that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
And even still, though, I was going to add in, there's really no dumb questions.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Now, the question you're going to ask is relevant to help you learn.
Exactly.
And so while we as experts, obviously with our product and with DCC in general, we obviously know the answers. We're not going to judge you because you're learning. So if you have a question, call us up, say, hey, Norman, I just got my model. I know there's 90 whistles in my Steam decoder. How do I choose it? We're not going to sit there and laugh at you or anything like that. We're going to help you find the answer, because again, here's the other adage. You talk about Proverbs. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Show a man, or give a man a fish, and he eats for a meal.
Yeah.
And so we're going to help you learn so that way you can grow along that journey, so that you can help yourself, but we're going to be there to help you.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask that question, I could just say, what whistle are you looking for? Look it up myself and say CV whatever to whatever. But we don't do that. We're actually going to take the time to walk you through, okay, here's where you find the documentation. Here's how you look at the documentation. Here's how you parse the information you need from that documentation.
I'm going to take your peg and move it down.
Why?
Because we're talking about whistle selection, and you had to say CV whatever to whatever.
Oh, no, I know it. I'm just not going to give him the answer.
So
go to the website, look under support, manuals, documentation, and grab the sound selection reference if you're curious.
There you go. Well, anyway, like I said, this has been our newest edition of Train Talk from Outpost 141. I think we've kind of covered this.
Yeah.
Basically, call us up. We're here to help you.
Oh, yeah.
And don't think there's not new young people in the hobby.
There are. You just need to know where to find them.
So I guess with that, guys, I appreciate you sticking in and listening to us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Bye.